What does it do, YouTube? Welcome back to another episode of Scotty Says. I am your host, and welcome to episode 109, my folks. And, way back about 100 episodes ago, I did an episode on the Rams. McWonder wants a divorce. The golfer was banished, exiled from the kingdom. He couldn't go on, Mr. McWonder couldn't any longer with the golfer. He needed an upgrade at quarterback, and he sent the golfer packing for Matthew, Doctor Who, Matty from the D. And, well, as you know, the Rams, McWonder, and Matty, they got that elusive Super Bowl victory. And it was a glorious one. At the Palace in Inglewood, a home Super Bowl over the Bengals and AD 99, the Beast, sacking Jughead Joe Burrow or putting that pressure on him at the end of the game, and the Rams winning it all after they had escaped that NFC championship game against them damn Niners, and Father Shanahan and the tart blessing from the football gods. Yes, it was glorious, but if you recall, that very next year, the Super Bowl defense season, putrid, stanky mess, 5-12. And I bring this up here now, my folks, because look at the juxtaposition, if you will. Why? Jared the golfer Goff, sent to the outback, the backwoods of Detroit. And look at him and the Lions and the kneecap biter. Look at them now. A formidable team running it up on folks, blasting teams out of the water. In fact, the Detroit Lions, put them up. They have the greatest point differential in the entire NFL, points scored versus points allowed. By a long shot, they're number one. And by most accounts, they are presumed to be Super Bowl contenders by most people. Well, the Rams certainly aren't in that boat. No way. In fact, the Rams, their point differential is in the negative. They're a minus in the point differential category. And as I've said in the past, when your point differential is negative 15 or worse, you're probably not a very good team. And the Rams, well, suffice it to say, they are worse than negative 15 in that differential category. And we'll get to the numbers in a bit, but just let me point out here and now that my vaunted 25-30 principle held true yet again. But I bring up the Lions, put them up, and the kneecap biter and the golfer. I bring them up because do you remember how unhappy Coach McGenius was with the golfer? He couldn't win with him, he said. He needed an upgrade. And now, the upgrade, Matty from the D, why, he's 0-2 versus the golfer and the Lions. He hasn't beaten his old team. And, well, as we sit now at this point in the season, now week 11 in the 2024 NFL season, the Rams at 5-5, 500, are still alive. And as I predicted in the very beginning, in the opening episode of this season, the predictions episode, I believed that them damn Niners were going to fall off, and they have. In fact, as we sit here today, Niners are in last place in the NFC West. Now, in fairness, the teams in the NFC West are all bunched up. You know, the Rams are 5-5, and them damn Niners are 5-5, but they've already lost to the Rams. And Seattle, and they're 5-5, but they too have already lost to the Rams. And so the Rams sit alone in second place in the NFC West at 5-5, only behind the Cardinals. And the Cardinals at 6-4 have already beaten the Rams, drubbed them, in fact. And so the Cardinals sit in the catbird seat at the week 11 mark in the season. But it's a weak division, and who knows how it plays out. And the Rams could still possibly win the division. But the reality, though, my folks, is I'm afraid that the only way to the playoffs, if you're in the NFC West, is by winning the division. You're not going to probably be able to get a wild card out of the NFC West. And so it'll be interesting down the stretch. But what I really suspect is that the Rams will not be capable of making any type of a postseason run, even if they were to get in, and that is certainly not a given. But when you look beneath the records, when you look at the numbers, especially numbers like your 0.4 point against differential and other numbers, you see that the Rams are a middling, mediocre team. They're treading water now and holding on, but I just don't expect, with the tendencies, the idiosyncrasies of the head coach and this ball club, I don't see how the team can do much damage in the postseason, even if they were to get in. And we've talked at length over previous episodes about the Book of McWonder and about the 25-30 principle and about the unbalanced nature of the head coach, that the emperor was Bucky Nakey. But I want to talk this episode about personnel issues, because we've talked a lot about play calling and personnel. We've talked a lot about play calling over recent episodes, but the personnel issues, they are vexing as well. And so I brought up the golfer because it seems that the golfer is balling out pretty fine, isn't he? See, if you're really a next level offensive mastermind, a genius, a wonderkin, then you should be able to win with serviceable quarterbacks. And the golfer is more than serviceable. This year he's had a game where he was 18 of 18, perfect. Didn't have one incompletion. This last game he put up over 400 yards and he only had 29 pass attempts. So the golfer is all right, but McGenius couldn't win with him. He needed to upgrade, and now you've got an older quarterback. And what do you do with Doctor Who moving forward next year or the year after? I wonder if Coach McWonder can even develop a quarterback, because he seems to need a ready-made quarterback, someone who's already gone through the learning curve and who's already a proven commodity. That's why he jettisoned, he banished, he exiled the golfer. He wanted a proven commodity like Matty from the D. Remember, he's only seemed to have success with, well, for example, he did pretty fine with the Baker and the Windsor, but they are proven, been around, veteran quarterbacks. And I wonder about his personnel decisions, because he's elevated less than competent players into his starting rotation only to see them crash and burn. And he's done this at the expense of established commodities that some reason he had a disagreement with, a falling out. He gets into tiffs and personality disputes, and he doesn't want to work with them anymore. And remember this? Remember Deshaun Jackson, and remember Bobby Trees. Remember the golfer. Remember Cam the Grill Akers. Remember Todd Gurley. The list goes on and on and on. Remember, he had no use for Bryson Hopkins, a dynamic tight end. Discarded him because he was interested in elevating Cousin Allen. Remember Fair McMuffins? He spent an entire season with Fair McMuffins. Fair catching and then muffing punts. No yak at all. Remember the stone-handed one, Stoney? Remember Stoney running around, stumbling out of the backfield and losing yards on 4th and inches? Remember? Do you remember Jake Funk? Remember the Wolford? Coach McWonder preferred the Wolford over the golfer. Remember, but he had gotten into a personality dispute with the golfer. And so I could go on and on. He wanted ripping and bumbling. Remember that? And then Stetson Bennett. Remember? And so I say all this to say I don't foresee a scenario whereby the Rams get much better anytime soon. I'm sorry to report, because we seem to be caught in this pattern with the head coach of the Rams. We seem to be stuck. And I've talked about the book of McWonder, how Mr. McWonder appears to prefer losing his way versus winning in a fundamentally sound manner. Fundamentally unsound. FUSS. That should be the acronym hanging on the banner over his head. FUSS. Because he consistently and constantly and repeatedly, time after time, Coach McLauper, he consistently makes the same mistakes. He seems to fall into the same traps, stumble into the same rabbit holes. And so you see coaches like Andy Reid, who the fat man can win with. He's won with Donovan McNabb. He's won with Alex Smith. And of course, he's winning with Mahomie. But McGenius, he's got to have everything in perfect order. Everything's got to be just so right, or else he can't win. Injuries, you understand. Too many. Personality disputes. I can't win like this. I want to focus your attention now on the offensive line, because, we've done episodes about this, about the passive versus aggressive nature of pass blocking versus run blocking. But let's look at the offensive line in terms of personnel. In terms of personnel, shall we? Now Now, in the offseason, there was a much ballyhooed offensive line upgrade. We were led to believe Jonah Jackson was brought in as a free agent, Jonah Jackson, and he's from the Lions, and that was a highly touted offensive line over there, and he came here, and, well, the thing though, my folks, is Jonah Jackson was the Lions, put him up, left guard. Okay? Keep that in mind. He was the left guard for the Lions. The Rams bring him to L.A., and, well, they have a left guard. They've found Steve Avila, and they like him, and he handled himself admirably as a rookie, and so their left guard position is spoken for, and so is left tackle. Alaric Jackson's holding that down, and so is right guard. Kevin Dotson has taken that spot. That's his spot. And so is right tackle. That's Rob Havenstein's spot. The staple, the original, the St. Louis Ram, the lone remaining. And so all those spots on the line were spoken for except for center. And that is where the intrigue comes in, because when Jonah Jackson joined the Rams in the offseason, I remember a quote of his where he said, "Yes, I'm a left guard, but I'll play wherever they need me to play." Well, that's the spirit. And you're getting a good sum of money to be cooperative, so that's all well and fine, except Jonah Jackson wasn't a center. A center, that's a unique skill set, really. You know, and, well, let's be honest, Jonah Jackson has struggled mightily. Well, first of all, the first game of the season, he got hurt, struggling at center, and then he was out all the way up until the Miami Dolphins game. All the way up to week 9 for the Rams. He had been on the bench, and so he is inserted. The Rams are on a 3-game winning streak, and they take out their starting center, Bo Limmer, who was holding his own. McGenius decides, I want to take him out, pull him out of the mix, and insert Jonah Jackson there. And then they promptly went out and laid an egg. Only 5 field goals against the Dolphins. No touchdowns. Fits and starts, and they looked rough. It was a setback game. It was a game that you would not want to watch again under any circumstances. It was a dud. And so then he faced questions. You were on a 3-game winning streak, coach. Why did you pull out your starting center and replace him with Jonah Jackson, coach? And the coach, well, he retreated into his cubbyhole, and then for the next game, this game against New England, he would not reveal who would start at center. He went real Richard Nixon. Forgive the dated reference. Tricky Dick. You know, he got real political, and he wouldn't say who's starting at center. Now, do you really think you're going to get any significant advantage by playing coy games about whether Jonah Jackson or Bo Limmer will start at center? Really? But that's what he did, and I'll give him credit. He made the right decision. He put Jonah Jackson back on the bench. But then what he did, though, he brought up Note Go Boom. That's another example. Note Go Boom cannot stay healthy. How do you think he got the nickname Note Go Boom? Because Note go down, Note go out, Note go bench, Note go boom. So now Note Go Boom is you've taken the continuity that you had for a 3-game winning streak and you've mixed it all up. And now Note Go Boom is in, and you've got Jonah Jackson in, and Bo Limmer's on the bench now, and you put Steve Avila back in because he's back and ready now, and it's a whole new line, and they look like it. And a winning streak down the tubes. Questionable decision making. He tried to correct it against New England, and I would say, by and large, he made the right decision in putting Bo Limmer back at center and leaving Avila and Alaric Jackson on the left side of the line and Dodson on the right. And he had to put Warren McClendon Jr. in at right tackle because Havenstein is nicked up and down again, you see. And honestly, with Havenstein, he's been a rock solid staple for many years, but you don't get healthier as you age in the game of professional football. So the right tackle issues are only going to continue. I mean, I wonder, what is the ceiling when it comes to development for Coach McWonder? Or do you always need ready-made performances and players and personnel? What is the developmental capability of the coach? We know that he has idiosyncrasies. We know that he doesn't appreciate the ground game very much. He wants to chuck it. And I warned you last episode, you go out there to New England and chuck it, you're going to lose. And fortunately, it seemed as though, especially early on, that Mr. McWonder was trying to follow the formula, the 25-30 principle, and it is a zero-sum game. L's and dubs, dubs and L's. Which did you get? And Mr. McWonder got that dub. So I give him credit. The Rams pulled a 5-5, but even in the midst of that, there was still, yes, I must report, there was still a McBlunder sequence. And so we'll spotlight it in game analysis in a little bit. But I just have to say, there are coaches out there who can take basic, generic personnel and work wonders with it. And so I must again mention the amazing job that Mike Tomlin, coach of the Steelers, is doing. And there's an interesting stat that I came across. You know, Mike Tomlin, this season, Mike Tomlin is 2-0 in games in which his offense does not produce a single touchdown. Only field goals. He's 2-0. Now we know McGenius just lost, in which his offense produced 5 field goals in the game against Miami. He lost. And that's actually quite common, because while Tomlin is 2-0 in games in which his offense does not score a touchdown, the rest of the league, the entire rest of the league, has 20 such examples, and they are 2-18. 2-18 when their offenses do not produce a touchdown. Only Mike Tomlin is 2-0. What does that tell us? That this man can make chicken salad out of leftovers. He can, last year, Mike Tomlin went to the playoffs with Mason Rudolph, the red-nosed quarterback. He went to the playoffs with him. Last year. This year, he's got Justin Fields and Russ, and they're 8-2. 8-2! And in first place, and they just beat the Ravens. And so I have to tip my cap Fight on. When I speak about Coach Tomlin, and I feel that the media and the talking heads, the ferret and the lemmings and the muppet and all of them, they should be extolling the amazing coaching virtues of Mike Tomlin. They should be calling him a genius. They should be calling him a guru. They should be calling him a wonder. Not McWonder. And this game, the game against the Patriots, well, despite getting the dub, there were still some troubling developments, troubling signs. And so let's just go ahead and get right to it. Let's get to game analysis. Now, I've already given you the starting offensive line, and that's because inactive for the Rams on offense of note, Rob Havenstein, inactive. And note go boom, note go bench, note go street clothes, also inactive. And so I've given you the starting O-line. You know that Matty from the D, Doctor Who, is your quarterback. You know Kyron Williams is your tailback. And you know that the Puka Soup, that wide receiver trio, that wide receiver stew, that they started in 11 personnel for the Rams. And the one bit of intrigue that I'll reference in the starting lineup is that, well, what do you know? At tight end, it's Cousin Allen to start the ball game. What happened to Colby, the friendly ghost? Boo, he's gone. Vanished. Colby, the friendly ghost, Colby Parkinson, nowhere to be seen. It's Cousin Allen, elevated. No yak at all. Elevated to starting tight end. And I hear Higbee's trying to make his way back, but that's another swing and a miss with Colby Parkinson, although I was happy to see him get in on a little bit of the action in this game. So now, the Rams defer, and after New England punts, the Rams start out their first offensive possession, and in the beginning of the game, I thought, wow, look, it looks like McWonder is He's trying to adapt. He's trying to apply the principle. He started off running the ball, and I thought, great, that's what we need. That's a positive development for damn sure. But, the Rams offense, they sputter, they hit and miss. And to be honest with you, that's a reflection of the coach. Now, I've explained this to you. I believe that the man has split football personality disorder. There's Dr. McGenius and Mr. McWonder. Dr. McGenius, designer of routes most extraordinary, offensive savant. And then Mr. McWonder, unbalanced, temperamental, up and down. You don't know what bag he's coming out of. And so Mr. McWonder has these awful idiosyncrasies. Idiosyncrasies, for example, like he eschews the run in favor of the chuck it. Mr. McWonder does inexplicable things. He disregards fundamental football principles, and he is chronically and habitually out of balance. And so the Rams play like their head coach. They have fits and starts. They can be crisp and sharp one drive or one game, and then stumbling and bumbling and fumbling the next. And you don't know what you're going to get from possession to possession, or from half to half, or week to week. And so the Rams start this game out like they start many others, with an opening drive punt. And New England drives. The Patsies drive 70 yards. Touchdown. 7-0 Patsies. And the Rams get the ball back, but even though they're in a deficit, McWonder stays out of the book at this point in time. He continues to employ the ground game. Great. And K. Will breaks off a big fat one for 20. Great. The Rams are moving the ball. But then there's a 3rd and 4. There's a 3rd and 4. And here's an example of that idiosyncratic behavior that I speak of. It's 3rd and 4. And, well, McWonder calls a timeout. There it is, early in the game, burnt timeout, wasted. And you know the pattern now. When he does this, when he burns these early timeouts, he comes back the very next play with some boo-boo, some garbage. And he did it again against the Patsies. He burns the early timeout. He comes back out of the timeout. He's got Matty in the empty shotgun. Okay, so you called a timeout early in the game to recalibrate, to reset, only to come out with an empty gun play for Matty, who throws, and it's almost a poltergeist strike. I mean, again, you see, this is what you wasted a timeout for empty gun and a damn near poltergeist experience? Up and down. So we move forward, 2nd quarter now, and Rams have the ball. They're driving, and they get into McWonder Crucible territory. 1st and goal. It's 1st and goal, and McGee, well, he gives deuces. Blake Corum, he gives him a tote, and it's 2nd and goal now. 2nd and goal, no gain on the tote, and so in 12 personnel, Matty rolling right, soup wide open, at the goal line, touchdown Rams, touchdown LA. And so the game is tied. And Matty would get 3 more of these. He had 4 touchdowns on the day. Well, you know, McGenius doesn't really want to run it in if he can avoid it. So it's 7-7. It's 7-7. And on the very next New England possession, Braden Fisk gets loose, strip sack, ball out, Rams recover, and now Rams are set up on offense, short field. They're already in the red zone. They're at the 12-yard line. First play after the turnover, Rams on the Patsy 12-yard line. Matty under center. Play fake. K-Will, and they bite. They're hungry. They're biting now because he's been running the ball. And Matty floats one toward the corner of the end zone. And who is it? It's Puka. Puka with full extension like Superman. Full extension, and he pulls it down. Hell of a catch. Touchdown. Touchdown off the turnover, and it's 14-7 LA. So after Cardi was not hearty and doinks a field goal attempt off the upright, and after the Patsies add a field goal, we go to halftime and the score is 14-10 LA. Now the Rams get the ball to start the 3rd quarter. So Matty, right out the gate, to start the 3rd quarter, the Rams at the 30, pitch to K-Will for a yard, 2nd and 9, 2nd and 9 now, and Matty, 2nd play of the 3rd quarter, in the gun, over the middle for Soup, nobody home, 0, and Matty throwing up zeros to the sideline, 0, blitz, burnt them, crispy like toast, Soup, touchdown, Rams breaking off a big one. Soap with the 69-yard coverage buster. And the Rams are up 21-10. Now after a Patsy field goal, it's 21-13. The Rams got the ball back. And now we set up for the final Rams score of the game. And it was a beauty because, as I mentioned earlier, Matty to the back of the end zone. Who is it? It's Colby, the friendly ghost. He's appeared out of thin air. Touchdown, Colby Parkins, a touchdown, Rams, and it's 28-13. And well, as you know, the Rams would hold on to win the game. New England would score another touchdown and then get their point after attempt blocked, and then they'd add another field goal and another field goal. But in the end, it was 28-22 Rams down the stretch. And let's now move to the fourth quarter. Under 4 minutes left in regulation. Rams with the ball. They're driving. And K-Will, 5-yard gain. It's 3rd and 3. And McWonder's throwing. And see, again, this is where I reference fuss. Fundamentally unsound. He's throwing with under 4 minutes, down under 3 minutes, down under the 2-minute warning. He's still throwing. He has not learned the lessons from mistakes of games past, repeating the same mistakes over and over, time after time. McLauper. And so here it is yet again now. We are down around the 2-minute warning. The Patriots are only down 6, which means you've got to play it smart here. Otherwise, you give them a chance to win the game and walk you off. And so, McWonder throwing. Well, it's a completion to Puka. And so it's a first down at the New England 39, and the Patsies take a timeout. And so now they've only got the 2 timeouts left. And McWonder throwing again. And I'm like, damn, McWonder. Well, this pass is incomplete now. Stops the clock on the tip pass. You see, you just gave New England an extra time out here, coach. This is McFoolishness. It's 2:35 to play now. Okay? And McWonder, he's throwing again. Yet again, throwing for Soup. And Soup, complete, smartly, goes down, inbounds. McWonder, though, he's living on the edge, living dangerously. But it doesn't burn him yet. Not here. So New England now forced to call another timeout. Now they only have the 1 left, right? And so it's 3rd and 6, Rams. 3rd and 6. Well, damn, McWonder throwing yet again. And of course, you know the pass is broken up for Puka. It's incomplete. It stops the clock. And so you've given the Patsies 2 timeouts, coach. You've given them 2 timeouts by your decision to throw incomplete passes when all you have to do is run the ball. We're down under 3 minutes, down around 2 minutes. They're going to get the 2-minute warning to stop the clock. Make them use their timeouts here. Play fundamentally sound. He won't do it. He plays unsound. And so instead of being out of timeouts, because of your McBlunder, because of your McSilliness, New England now has 1 timeout plus the 2-minute warning. And only down 6, you're giving them life with your McSquanders, McBlunders, McFoolishness, McSilliness. And so here we are now. Rams have the ball in field goal range. Field goal here makes it a 9-point game. A 2-score game. You've got to kick this field goal here. Right? Wrong. Now, McWonder, what does he do? What does the head coach of the Rams, the vaunted guru of offense, McGenius himself, what does he do here? Down 6, you've given the Patsies 2 extra timeouts. And now, instead of kicking the field goal to make it a 2-score game, you set up to punt. And I'm like, I can't understand what in the hell is he thinking? It's like kicking that field goal on 3rd down last week when you had a chance on 3rd down to put one in the end zone from 12 yards out. He panics. He gets worked up and agitated, and he makes mistakes, McBlunders. And so he McBlunders here. Yet again, he kicks the ball away. He punts instead of making it a 2-score game. And so I am forced, my folks. I am compelled. I am required to report that this sequence, this has been your McBlunder Spotlight sequence of the week. And a McBlunder it was. For failing to force New England to use their timeouts, for failing to apply fundamentally sound principles of clock management, for failing to run the ball, for failing to kick the field goal to make it a 2-score game, for all of it. I must classify this as the McBlunder Spotlight sequence of the week. Unfortunately, well, as you know, in this case, it didn't come back to bite him. He survived by the skin of his teeth. Remember how he survived? He did the same thing in the Minnesota game. Remember how he wouldn't run the ball and force Minnesota to use their timeouts, and then he ended up having to punt the ball back to him, and they had time with the timeout left, and the face mask wasn't called so that they didn't have a chance, but in that case, they needed the touchdown and the 2-point conversion. In this case, all New England needed was a touchdown and a point after to win the game. But fortunately for the Rams, New England is a very bad team. And that's what I've been telling you, my folks. He can get away with this stuff against New England or against teams of that ilk. But against quality teams, against good teams, like the Lions, put them up. You're going to lose every time with this undisciplined, unbalanced, unsound behavior. So, in the end, Drake May and the Patriots throw one up, poltergeist strike, Cam Kinchin's poltergeist strike, to seal the game, and the Rams do come away with the dub, and it is a big victory in spite of coaches' blunders and mistakes. And so, let's go ahead and look at the numbers, shall we? Well, listen. The Rams had more total yards than the Patsies. More passing yards, of course. They averaged more yards per play. They didn't allow any sacks. All of those things were good on the positive side of the ledger. But on the other hand, the Patsies outrushed the Rams. They had more first downs. They were better on third down. They had way more total plays, over 20 more total plays than the Rams. And, well, they dominated time of possession, the Patsies did, but what saved the Rams in this instance, well, there were 2 turnovers. The Pats, both of them at the hands of their QB, Drake May. There was the strip sack, coughed up, fumble, ball out, and then the poltergeist strike. And so those 2 turnovers played greatly into the outcome. But let's dig even deeper. Let's apply the principle. So let's start with the victors, the LA Rams. Matty from the D, Doctor Who, Matthew Stafford, 18 of 27. Oh, whoa, hold it. 18 of 27. That's what I'm talking about, McG. 27 total pass attempts. The 25-30 principle requires you to cap your quarterback at 30 pass attempts. McWonder had Matty throw 27 times. There were no sacks. So that is a check. They meet that metric. But rushing, well, 20 carries for 107 yards. Short. So they do not meet both metrics. And here's the thing, my folks. Kyron Williams, 15 carries, 86 yards. Do you know that's a 5.7 yard per carry average? Your running back, your front line running back is averaging damn near 6 yards every time you turn around and hand it to him. 6 yards a pop. And you only give him 15 carries. Does that sound familiar? It's kind of like Derrick Henry, isn't it? You've got a game-breaking running back, King Henry, in your backfield. You give him 11, 12, 13 touches in a game? Baltimore, you deserve to lose. And so it's the same thing with the Rams. Your front line back is averaging 6 yards a pop. You got to feed him. 25 carries. That's what the 25-30 principle stipulates. McWonder was short. And so he did not meet both metrics. Let's look at the losers, the patsies. Drake May, 30 or 40. 40? Drake May, 40 passes, plus he was sacked 3 times. That's a total of 43 pass attempts. They will not meet both metrics, clearly. Let's look at rushing. Well, there you see. You see how they made up for it. They had 30 run plays, 30 carries for 125 yards. Nice going. And so they do meet that metric. That's a check. So in both the case of the Rams head coach and New England's head coach, Mayo, both coaches failed to meet both metrics. They were one up, one down on both sides. And as you know now, when both coaches fail to meet the metrics required for the 25-30 principle, we go to the tiebreaker. We go to the balance differential. That is our tie-breaking mechanism. The balance differential will tell me how close the teams were to a balanced attack. Well, the Patriots, they had 43 pass attempts, 30 run plays. That's a balance differential of minus 13. The Rams, 27 pass attempts, 20 run plays. That's a balance differential of minus 7. And so you see, the 25-30 principle holds true yet again. It's golden yet again. Minus 7 is going to beat minus 13 every time. And so when you factor in those turnovers on top, New England was swimming upstream. And because they're not a good team to begin with, it was too much for them to overcome. So let's give out game balls, my folks. Well, I'm going to give a game ball to Matthew Stafford, Matty from the D, 18 of 27. I like that. No poltergeist strikes, although he came close. 4 touchdown passes, because you know McWonder doesn't like to run the ball across the goal line. So, and you know, Matty also cracked the top 10 all-time touchdown passes thrown. Congratulations to Matthew Stafford, Doctor Who, game ball, sir. Game ball, I want to give a game ball to Kyron Williams, as I said, nearly 6 yards per carry. And, I mean, you've got to give him more touches, McWonder. Only 15 carries, averaging that many yards a pop. Game ball, K-Will. Good job, sir. And my final game ball. Dun, dun, dun. Super Cooper Kupp. 6 receptions, 106 yards. Busted them open on cover 0. That 0 blitz. And he averaged 17.7 yards per reception. That was the highest on the team, just a tick above Puka. And he had 2 touchdowns to boot. Soup doing soup things. Game ball, sir. Honorable mention, I want to give honorable mentions to the defense, to Cam Kinchins. Yet again, another interception. The young man, the undrafted rookie, balling out. He had, in addition to the interception, the poltergeist strike, he also had 6 tackles and 2 assists. Great game, sir. Honorable mention. And honorable mention to Quentin Lake. He's the Rams' leading tackler on the season. He's consistent like a metronome. 7 more tackles, 4 more assists, holding it down. Honorable mention, Quentin Lake. And so up next for the Rams, coming up next, the Eagles. Fly, Eagles, fly. Coming to town, coming to the Palace in Inglewood. Well, I gotta be honest with you, my folks. You know, I gave you a vow that I would give you the real, and so I cannot predict that the Rams will come away from this Philadelphia game with the victory. I don't see it. The Eagles came to town and beat the Rams when they didn't have a frontline all-world Matrix running back. And that's what I'm going to start calling Saquon Barkley, the Matrix. Now, the Eagles have the Matrix. Okay? So, I would be extremely surprised with the Rams' idiosyncrasies and shortcomings if they would be able to upset the Eagles. And so I'm afraid the Rams are looking right down the barrel of an L on Sunday. But, as I say, with a down NFC West, even an L there doesn't kill them. They're still in contention. But it's really just to get into the playoffs, because I don't see how the Rams can get much further than that if they can get that far. Let's look around the league. I want to mention, of course, how Mahomie and KC have been struggling, and it was at 9-0, struggling like that. It was really a matter of time before somebody got them, and well, Buffalo was as good a choice as any to get them, and get them they did. But as I dig into the numbers around the league, some things leap out at me. For example, I mentioned that Detroit has the best points differential margin in the entire NFL. Well, second is Buffalo. And I also mentioned that when your points differential is negative 15 or worse, you're probably a bad team. With those parameters in mind, let's just look at the way the league is shaking out right now through week 11. The Bills are 9-2. They've got a plus 106 point differential. They're looking legit. Okay? No one else in their division is even close. In the AFC West, well, now KC is 9-1, but look at the Chargers. And I thought the Chargers could get a wild card, and I still think that that's how that's going to play out. I will say I'm surprised by the Broncos. I didn't think they would be hanging this tough this late in the season. But the Chiefs have a plus 49 points differential. That's fairly low for a first place team. In fact, the Chargers, the second place team in the AFC West, they have a plus 75 point differential. You see? And the third place team, the Broncos, they have a plus 52. So both the second and third place teams in the AFC West have a better points differential than KC. When you look at the AFC North, though, it all fits and flows perfectly. At 8-2, the Steelers are in first place. They have a plus 71 points differential. That's the best in the division. The Ravens in second place at 7-4 have a plus 63 points differential. And the Bengals at 4-7 have a plus 1 So even at 4-7, they're on the positive side of the ledger with a +1. Let's look at the AFC South. Well, very interesting when you look at the points differentials in that division. The Texans on top of the division at 7-4, as I expected they would be. They have a +22 points differential. That's not world beater. That's not upper echelon. Everyone else, though, in the AFC South has a negative points differential. The Colts in second place are -14. And then the Titans and the Jags are just abysmal, -93 and -108, respectively, just awful. And so in the AFC, you have 8 teams that are on the plus side of the points differential ledger. 8 teams. And as you know, 7 teams make the playoffs in each conference. So you've got 8 teams with a plus points differential. 7 teams make the playoffs. The 8th team, the +1, is Cincinnati at +1, and they may or may not make it. As you know, most likely they won't. But that is what the numbers give me. Now let's look in the NFC. Well, in the NFC, there are 9 teams with a plus differential. 9 teams. No, there's 7 playoff spots available. 9 teams have a plus differential. But there's some interesting anomalies in the NFC. So let's take a look at it. For example, in the NFC South, the Falcons are in first place, but they have a -30 points differential. -30. Remember, at -15, you're probably not that good of a team. They are -30, and they are in first place in their division. And so this suggests to me that the Falcons are not going to be very successful in the postseason, but I do expect they'll get there. The Buccaneers have a +13 point differential. All those injuries have really hurt them. And then the Saints, they have a +2. They are positives, even though they're below 500, the Bucs and the Saints. Now, let's look at the NFC North. Well, this one, it flows as you would expect that it should. In the NFC North, the Lions are number 1. They're 9-1. They have a +159 points differential. 53 more than the second place team, the second leading point differential team, Buffalo. 159 for put them up, the Lions. And then in second place currently, 8-2, Minnesota. They have a +74. That's more than decent. +74 at 8-2. You've got to give the Vikings their props. In fact, it looks to me that the Vikings have the fewest points allowed in the entire NFC, and they are 8-2. Except Sam Darnold, fight on. Sam Darnold is revealing himself to be a liability. Okay, let's look at the Packers. They're 7-3. They're in third place as we speak in the NFC North. They have a +37 point differential. And then the Bears, the toothless ones, they are 4-6 as we speak. And even they have a +7 point differential. And if you recall, I told you there was a very good possibility that 3 playoff teams would come out of the NFC North. I even thought it was possible there could be 4. I don't think that anymore, and I don't believe the Bears, the toothless ones, are going to be able to scale the mountain. Let's look at the NFC East. Well, the Eagles coming to town. They're 8-2. They have a +80 points differential, and they sit in first place, as I told you they would. And second place, I told you the Commanders could get a wild card spot. They have a +65 points differential. +65. Nothing to sneeze at there. Them damn Cowboys, you know what I told you about them now. They have a minus 106. A minus 106 points differential. Only the Panthers are worse in the NFC. Oh, dreadful. And the Giants have a minus 66. They're done. Both them damn Cowboys and the Giants done cooked kaput. And then finally, the NFC West, another anomalous division. In the NFC West, the Cardinals sit at first place as we speak at 6-4. They have a plus 18 points differential, plus 18. The Rams currently sit in second at 5-5. They have a minus 26, negative 26. The Rams. I told you, minus 15, you're not a good team. They're minus 26. And yet they're at 5-5, sitting in second place. And so what that tells me is even if the Rams find a way, muster a way to make it into the playoffs, they're going to be one and done most likely if they get that far. And then the Seahawks, they sit at 5-5. They have a minus 8 differential. At least they're above that Mendoza line of negative 15. And here's another anomaly. The last place team in the division right now is them damn Niners and Father Shanahan, and they have been struggling, okay, on the struggle bus. But do you know, them damn Niners, they have a plus 28 points differential. Plus 28, that's the best of the 4 teams in the NFC West, but they're sitting at the bottom. Interesting. And so what that suggests to me is that them damn Niners may not be cooked just yet. But we will see. And so at this point in time, what I'm going to ask from you, what I need for you to do is throw me one of these, just one. Please like the video. Subscribe if you haven't already. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you're thinking. And until the next one, which I can guarantee you won't be too long from this one because we are going to be back on the other side of the Eagles and we'll dissect it, we'll chop it up. And so until then, my friends, Scotty says, thanks for watching. One love.